Yeah, so maybe we like made some of the some spicy noodles, and these were like really well pretty popular, like common, like chili powder, and so what she did was like she had this chili pepper, right? Chili pepper, and then grind them, and then like grind them into like kind of different size, like particle size, like so it's like this is roughly round. It's like fine powder, and then what she did was like kind of she mixed them like one to one ratio, and then kneaded them into the noodles. So you may be able to like see, yeah, you may be able to like see like kind of big bits of chili pepper here, right? So if you have like this big chunk of like chili right in the noodles, like you should make your noodle size bigger, definitely. Otherwise, like your noodles will break. And this one is interesting, like because this is wasabi powder, and yeah, I wish you guys were here to like kind of smell the flavor of it, like because it's definitely wasabi. And yeah, actually the guy holding this smartphone is actually wearing a mask because like he can't bear the flavor of this wasabi. And then so we have some other like star anise, and uh, so yeah, this is a Japanese pepper, senshou, and that's kind of distinctive aroma, like flavor as well. And so, yeah, so these are the ingredients. These are the ingredients. So flour, the chili pepper with like roughly round one, and then like kind of finely ground powder, 1 to 1 ratio, and currency and salt and water. So let's go. And so we are making a dough. This and so notice that she put like all the solid ingredients first in the mixer, right? And this is 10 kilograms mixer, 10 kilograms mixer, and like minimum batch is 4 kilograms. So those the total weight of the solid ingredients she just put in the mixer is 4 kilograms, and the water, right? Water and currency and salt mixed together, right? And so, as I said, right in there, hydration is important, and because we added like kind of fair amount of chili powder, that's actually 7% of the total solid ingredients. 7%, like putting 7% like chili powder. That's whose moisture content is like way less than like wheat flour. That's gonna bring down the whole like moisture content of the solid ingredients. So we have to increase the hydration ratio quite a bit to get that sort of same sort of like hardness noodle texture that if you're doing for example like 5% or so like hydration ratio like definitely like the more for example like the spice powder that food moisture content is like way less than the white wheat flour, um, you know the more like you have to add, the more liquid you have to add. So okay, so luckily like she made me prepare the dough in advance. And yeah, so look at this dough, how like kind of wet, or like the condition dough that's a bit kind of wetty. I'd say like this dough is like around maybe 34, 5% ish, 33, 34, 5 maybe. Um, okay, yeah, so that's like really kind of, I think by adding like kind of rough chili powder, it's orange, but like it's kind of dark orange kind of. And so she's feeding this crumbled dough into the roller units to make rough sheet of dough. And so yeah, rough sheet of dough is coming out, and it's still rough and like pretty fragile, but it's a sheet of dough that's that's being formed from this like crumbled dough. So that's a start. And yeah, I wish you guys are here, like, cause the smell, that the flavor of the chili is like pretty strong. I think like just 7% of total solid ingredients. The chili is still, yeah, it's kind of pretty pungent. It's it gets to your sort of like nostrils, and then kind of, yeah, it's like if you have like some allergy or something, like makes you sneeze, and yeah, it's very strong. But you see that like all these like dots, they're like kind of bigger than the other ones. Like, so these are the ones that are, she mixed with kind of fine powder. So it's like kind of, well, kind of bits of like skins of like chili peppers that are needed. And so you at least need to be able to like, well, make your noodle size like, bigger than this, like these bits. Otherwise your noodles like, like are prone to break. And I think like we think like I think it's better to make like kind of spicy noodles like in bigger size than like in a thinner size, because you you're it's like by making like bigger noodles, you're kind of strengthening the you know the spiciness. And I think like in the first place, like, people who are ordering like spicy noodles to begin with, like, I mean, they love spicy food. So why not like make them like spicy as like we can, right? So because why not like give them what they want, right? So the first round of just like we call it forming rough forming of dough into like this red sheet of dough. And next, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna separate it into two, right? Two roll to the dough sheet, and then we're gonna combine them, right? To our rollers. So just feeding them to the roller, right? And this is gonna be compounded through the roller, and that's how you're sort of like kind of working the dough. And it may be like hard for you guys to see, but like the the dough is like, well, definitely the surface is smoother, and so it's getting firmer, definitely. And although like there are some like kind of, well, some part of dough is like kind of a bit whiter than the other parts, and like there's some parts of dough like kind of more orange than the other parts, but like yeah, they're gonna come together. And then when you make them noodles, and when you cook them, right, and that's a whole different um, story. I mean, it's amazing like how they change, like that they cook them, like from condition of fresh noodles. I mean, totally different. So yeah, once you make your spicy noodles, like craft spicy noodles, yeah, you should try them. You should try them, and then like definitely check out how much of the like spiciness, like the flavors, the noodles like lose after cooking. That's important, and that really has to do with type of spice you're using, and because some types of like sometimes like like more water soluble than the other types, right? And as I said, like we haven't really like done much of the testing, but sometimes like it may be worth the try to like see if like some of the spices are like maybe like work better than like if you use it as like liquid ingredients rather than solid ingredients. See like if the spiciness, right? The spice like strength of the spice like stay like retain better after cooking than the like if you use it as like solid ingredients. So after so this is the second time like she's combining this dough, and after that like we want to dust it. We want to dust it to make sure well it's not gonna stick. And so this is second, we call it this is second combining process. Yeah, so the amount of dusting like is like it depends on well the hydration ratio of the noodles, and also like the higher the hydration ratio like you have that the more you have to dust and to keep them from sticking. Okay, so after second combining process, the the dough, right? Dough is like we assume that like totally developed in terms like gluten structure inside. So what we have to do from this point on is just thin it, right? Thin to the final thickness, but like we don't want to thin it drastically because that's going to damage the gluten structure. So you want to thin it like gradually. That was like 3 millimeter gap, and so what we're doing now is like 2 millimeter sheeting. And but the good news is we can speed up from this point on, and we can go faster. Yeah, by the way, like this is a Richmond one machine, and this particular unit is C version. Like all these like EU countries, they require like all these goods like coming from non-C countries to have like this C mark, which is just very strict kind of safety certificate that what like we have to like pass all these tests, and which costs a lot of money actually to you know get this kind of like kind of industrial like commercial machine to pass all these tests to be certified. And so but we did it like several years ago, and now this machine is being like installed like in making craft like fresh noodles across Europe. So and it's pretty versatile, like 10 kilograms mixer, and you can do like up to like 100 servings of fresh craft spicy noodles in an hour from scratch. So yeah, I think it's pretty good piece of equipment. If you just starting up, and so yeah, we have a lot of growing number of customers like using this machine across Europe. And so now we're doing the just thinning, and so after we do the thinning, right, few times, and yeah, it's like we need to check before we start cutting it, because we don't know how much this dough, the thickness is bouncing back from the roller gap that we set, right? Yeah, roll gap we said is 1.5 millimeter, but like the actual thickness is just 2 millimeter, like two, yeah, like even like two millimeter. So there's like 0.5 millimeter, thicker, the actual thickness. So it's like there's a difference. Like need to understand like there's a difference between like roller gap that we set and actual thickness of dough, because like it always expands back after it's gone through the roller, because it's the dough we are dealing with. Um, yeah, so anticipating the dough be like bounce back like about 0.5, and so this is the cutter, right? So it's number 16. So that's about like 2 millimeter in width, the width, right? So the thickness of the noodles, like we control by the roller gap, right? And then, but width of the noodles is controlled by this cutter, and that's going to be 2 millimeters. So the thickness would be, well, aiming at about like 1.7 millimeter, and but like the width is going to be 2. So like that's going to be 1.7 by 2 millimeter noodles, which is quite a good size for ramen noodles, and I think it's going to be really good with some kind of miso, just like kind of hearty miso, ramen soup, like, and then the noodle itself, like noodle themselves, like going to be like pretty hot, spicy, right? And I think they're going to go well with yeah, miso. Okay, so we're cutting, and yeah, so it's gonna go into the cutter, right? Kind of shredder like cutter, and so the noodles are coming out, and so the cutter cuts it and like kind of splits the dough sheet into the noodle strands, right? And then um, so this machine can also adjust the length of the noodle. Length of noodle is determined by, yeah, so you can make it longer, and then that's a bigger serving size, and you can make it shorter, and that's smaller serving size. So like it depends on what the appropriate serving size like be like for your restaurant business. So just like cuts it automatically, right? So like maybe too long, but yeah. So it's pretty convenient. Like so, you just decide on the length, and just weigh one something like, okay, that's like 130 grams, five ounce. Then just that's the length, right? And then just keep cutting and portioning. Okay, so that's a craft chili spicy noodles, and that's how we can make craft spicy noodles from scratch. And um, yeah, but yeah, but one of the advice like we should give to you guys is that like when you're making these type of noodles, like you should wear a mask, because well it's just too much of like yeah too pungent like sometimes, depending on like what kind of spice you're using.